Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into this week's edition of Bullring Breakdown. I want to thank you all for joining us here. It was an awesome weekend, a lot of fun. I do want to remind everybody, please like and subscribe on the YouTube page, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, as well as liking the Woodhall Raceway on Facebook and Woodhall Raceway 64 on TikTok. So, race recap once again. I'm joined by Terry Pierce. How we doing, Terry?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Joe?
Good, good. I had a lot of people, I thought that I did okay by myself last time, but then I had a lot of people telling me, it's just not the same without Terry there. And if you're going to do this, you can't do it without Terry. So I
Hey,
figured I'd
that's
have you
great. I'm
back.
glad. I think I how much do I owe them people? Because I was telling everybody to make sure they called and told you that. I didn't want to feel bad when I come back, and I was afraid you wouldn't let me come back. So that's why I kept calling these people to have them get a hold of you.
Well, if we're going to be a little truthful here, I think we might have to, I think next week I might be doing that solo too, because
I think
I
you
don't think
will.
you're going to have much to say about anything.
No, probably not. I mean, we'll see, but probably not. I will be in Kansas all next week, so unfortunately.
Yeah, that's okay. I think I might ask Paul Harkenrider if he wants to do it with me. I still have to reach out to him, but if you are a longtime fan of the Woodhull Raceway, I did talk to Paul about maybe filling in with me next weekend because John Lubick's not there, and 100 laps of street stock's a little hard to do, but we'll get into that a little later.
Right, there you go. Yep.
Uh, so once again, this was a huge weekend CRSA Sprints 2-day show. Uh, Night one was sponsored by, I believe, just MSP CarQuest and I guess Dandy, but Dandy is the CRSA deal. Um, what they run? Twin 20s on Friday night, and we
Yeah.
had the crate late models. We took the tops off of them, so that was interesting. A little bit of a different view for the fans. And then the hobby stocks, that was the big money one, the King Bop Allison Pierce Memorial Dirty 30.
Yes. There was a lot of people that liked those late models with the tops off. That went over kind of big on Friday night, I think. A lot of people love to see that. So,
Yeah, it's a lot different. I didn't really realize I guess that you could see right down in there. I guess now that you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. But you know,
yeah.
there's a couple drivers that played into it too. I know Ricky Laux and Marshall O'Brien. They had mohawks on their helmets. So,
Yeah, they did. Yep, absolutely. Yep.
so let's get underway here. The first heat races of the night, Southern Tier Custom Rush Crate Late Models. That was John Waters. He picked up the win in that. Not much to say about him. Actually, he ended up sweeping the weekend for them. So, uh,
Yep,
John Waters, he shows up. He's going to be tough to beat. So.
no doubt there.
Then we can move on to the CRSA 305, well, New York 305 Sprint Nationals. Heat races Friday night. They were won by Zach Sabaka, Kyle Drum, Spencer Burley, and Jeff Trombley. So a little bit on the format there. They ran heat races um, you know, to set the dash for the Twin 20s, which if you won that, you locked yourself into the dash for the redraw.
Yes.
So that, if you're
Actually, wait. I think didn't you? I think if you won that, it actually put you on the front row. I believe, didn't it?
no.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, you just locked yourself into it would be 11th and 12th if you didn't
Oh,
improve
yes, you're right.
in the
Yes,
dash. And then, well, I guess it would have been sixth. So I guess you start sixth in each dash if you don't improve your spot from the heat race.
yes. Yep, you're right. Absolutely. Okay, sorry. It did get a little confusing over the weekend trying to figure out some of these formats that they used. A lot of them their qualifying stuff went on passing points straight
hmm
up, and it took me forever to figure out how to do that. So,
I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie to you, I still don't know how they did it.
I
Really,
I'm not very good at it. I can tell you that. I need to study that a lot more to ever be able to actually do it. So,
yeah, right. I just assumed that Mike and them had their thing figured out. So,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
so
kind of leaned on Mike all weekend on that stuff. So,
yeah, you kind of got it right. I mean, for the most
yep,
part. So then we had the hobby stocks, ladder road out of hobby stocks, heat races there. They were won by Dylan Phillip, Travis Webster, and Brandon Conklin. A little bit, a little bit different there. Travis Webster coming out, picking up the heat race win, and what I believe was supposed to be just a parts car, and he
yes,
picked up the heat race win. So
yep, absolutely. He bought that car and he's ordered a brand new one. He's got a brand new one coming for next year. and he bought this car as a parts car. It sat there, and Joe Bertzel called him up and said, "Why don't you bring it over for this big race?" And of course, you didn't have to tell him Travis twice. So he started working on the car, pounded a lot of nights, got some numbers through on there, and away he went. So yeah,
Yeah, I tell you, Travis, I imagine I asked him during the redraw if he kind of missed it. He said, yeah, a little bit.
yeah, yeah, he did absolutely. Yep. I think
Uh,
you'll see him back next year in full force. I think so.
right. And that was, so then we did the redraw. That was the heat races. Then we went into intermission. Um, we did the redraw for the hobby stocks down on the front. That was pretty neat because that's, a group of guys that really don't, get the publicity, get to see their face out there, get to say some things in front of the grandstand. So I do want to
Yep.
thank Joe Birdsell and I guess Mike Palmer and, just everybody that helped out with that. Mike Palmer did the redraw stuff. So,
Yep, he donated all the maple syrup bottles that they drew. They had a number on each bottom of each maple syrup bottle, and that's what the drivers drew to get their starting spots. And yeah, we thank Mike Palmer for donating all those. Pretty cool of him.
absolutely. Yeah, and everybody that donated. I know they gave away some cash, a cooler, a whole bunch of stuff. So,
Yeah, yep, yep,
it was for a good cause and you
yep,
know.
definitely.
So then we could get into the heat races. No, we already did that. Then we can get
Yep,
into the feature races from Friday night.
yep.
Steve LeBaron and Wyatt White, they started on the pole for the Southern Tier Customs Rush Crate late models. And it didn't take long, and John Waters found himself back out front. And you know as well as I do, Terry, you're a little bit older than me, not to date you or nothing, but
Geez, thanks, Joe.
but well, you'll agree, once you put the 11 out front, it's kind of tough sledding once he gets out front.
Yep, right. That's for sure. He's got a lot of laps, a lot of experience around Woodhall Raceway, and anytime that he shows up, like we said earlier, he's tough to beat. And yeah, he took off. And I'll say that there was a little while there. I seen Marshall O'Brien was right with him for a little while, and then he kind of fell back, and then Steve LeBaron got up there, and Steve was right with him for a while.
Mhm.
And but yeah, at the end of the day, it's one thing to catch these guys; it's another thing to pass them. And
Yeah,
John
especially
Waters is experienced.
especially the late models too. They're pretty big and wide, and
Yep.
if you're not gonna use somebody right up, sometimes it's hard to get around them guys.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. Right. And you it says here on my race pass that Wyatt finished third. Is that true? Because I thought that Marshall finished third.
no,
Do you
Wyatt
know?
finished third. Yeah.
Did he really? I don't know. Good.
Mhm.
That's an awesome run for him then.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. So
Congratulations, Wyatt.
we'll just run through the top five. John Waters, he picked up a second win. I believe that's a second in a row. Yeah, because we didn't race championship night. Yeah, so that's two in a row for John Waters. Steve LeBaron finished second. Third was Wyatt White. Fourth, Marshall O'Brien. And fifth was Ricky Laux. Um, Brett Marlatt had some sort of issue. You might know more than I would on that. I don't know. But
Yeah, no, I don't. I didn't get a chance to get up there and talk to Brett. I had a very busy night, and I think that I know he was having the car was skipping really bad when they got to the track for hot laps, I guess, and they worked on it. And when they came out, or maybe I guess it was in the heat, and then when they came out for the feature, it would not run. So
mhm,
they tied coming out on the track, and they couldn't restart it. We tried to push him, it wouldn't restart, and ended his night early.
right. Yeah, so that's the late models, you know. Then we could get into the hobby stocks, right?
Yep.
So we ran the lad road out of hobby stocks, King Bob, Allison Pierce Memorial Dirty 30. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Terry, this race was a um terrible race at the beginning. This
Yes, it
race,
was.
this race was no fun to watch. I can't imagine the drivers had a lot of fun. This thing, everybody was banging off of everybody, and it was tough to watch at the beginning. I will say that, and I've got it listed here, that there's a caution on lap zero, a caution on lap one. Dylan Phillip leads. Brian Austin takes the lead on lap four. Dylan Phillip leads on lap. No, Brian Austin takes the lead on lap three. Dylan Phillip takes the lead on lap four. Caution on lap four. So for a while there, it was either a caution or a new race leader, and it was good
Yep.
racing. It was just kind of
Yep.
uh,
Absolutely.
pretty yellow heavy throughout.
Yep. Nope. Absolutely.
So then Reese Hackett, he took the lead back, or he took the lead over on lap number 10. Then Dylan Phillip took the lead back on lap 10. Hackett takes it back on lap 12. Phillip takes it on lap 13. Hackett gets back by on lap 16. Then there's a caution on lap 20, caution on lap 21, and then Brandon Conklin took over the lead on lap 23, and that's where it stayed. Um, I think if you ask Reese Hackett, he would say he let one get away. He was coming out of turn four and he pushed really bad and he ended up losing, I think, three spots actually. He went from the
Yep.
lead, I believe, to fourth on that one corner and took him right out of contention for somebody who was battling for the lead at the beginning with Dylan Phillip. And then he was able to hold it or get by him and hold him off and then
Yeah,
lead the most
absolutely.
of the race until he, almost went around.
Yep. And same with Brian Austin. I mean, Brian Austin was fast at the beginning of the race. He hit the Ute tire coming out of four. And that sent him back quite a ways, and he worked his way back up to finish second. And I'll tell you, that car was fast too. I mean, him and Reese Hackett both were extremely fast on the night, you know.
Right. But yeah, so Brandon Conklin, he picked up the win. I believe that race paid 12.88. So
Oh, really?
$1,288. That's pretty good.
Yeah, yep,
If you come to Woodhull, I don't know, Brandon Conklin's kind of the man to beat. He's I think this is his seventh or eighth feature win, back to back point leader or point champion. He
yep,
just he's tough to beat.
yep, for sure. Yep,
Brian Austin finished second. Joe Birdsell, I didn't realize this, but Joe Birdsell drove from 15th to third.
yep.
Reese Hackett finished fourth, and then Scott Brown finished fifth. So there's your top five for that.
Yeah, I think Joe Bertzel actually went all the way to the back and came back up through, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he started in the back because I believe he broke during the heat race.
Yes, he did. He broke during, he blew a tire during the heat race. But I was thinking that something happened to him in the feature too, and he was one of the cautions I was thinking, and then went to the back. But I could be wrong, I guess.
He could have been. I don't want to be mean to these guys, but there was a lot of cautions to try to
There
remember who.
was. I, there was times where we had the discussion of where we're going to shorten this race because they just couldn't get it going. They just couldn't get in a rhythm with it. Yeah,
Right. Well, like I said, once they got going, it was a good race and it was good side by side racing. But boy, it was yellow, and I can't say much. I wouldn't do any better. But
yeah, right.
especially those things. I hear they're very hard to drive. So
Right, right. And there was a lot of money on the line for him too. And that sometimes doesn't help any either. So
right. So yeah, that was the Lad Road Auto Hobby Stocks. Once again, I do want to thank everybody that donated money for that. And Joe Birdsell and his wife for getting all the money around for that and everything. And you know,
yes, they worked very hard at that. They started earlier on in the season, collected money for it, and yeah, they did. They did a great job of raising money, and it's a tough deal to do. It's tough to raise money for these races. It's not easy. You got to think about it when these guys go this time of year and they go try to hit up sponsors and donate money. You got to realize most of these people that are race fans that donate money have already donated throughout the season, whether it be they sponsor a night at the track or maybe they sponsor another race car. So it's tough to raise money this time of year. It definitely is.
absolutely.
So
Well, and it was
hats off
for a
to
good
them.
cause too. I think everybody that knew Joe's dad would say, that's for a good cause, and he
Yep,
saw,
definitely was.
you
Joe's
know,
dad,
and
he raced at Woodhall for quite a few years there. And he was a competitive racer there and yeah, great guy, great guy. And
absolutely,
yep, he went he passed away way too early in life and this is an awesome race in his memory and of course it was a great turnout. What can you say? And of course Allison was his mother-in-law. So it's good to she was always a big supporter. She was at the racetrack every single weekend. You see her there in the grandstands every single week. So, yep.
absolutely. So yeah, so that was them. And then we got into I try to make these posts and I always kind of screw one thing up. I put that post up about the street stocks and I put 200 to start. So
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
so now I got people blowing up my phone, so
Uh-oh.
I had to go in there and correct that real quick. You know how sometimes people can get.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm getting some on my phone too, but not for that reason. Yeah, it's going to be a busy week. I can tell you that. People are
Yeah, I
starting to
think
get
I
excited.
I think
So
you're probably right about that.
yeah, people are starting to get excited about the Woodall 100, and yeah, I'm getting a lot of questions today on it. So
Right. All right, so well, we can move into the 305 sprint cars. Like I said, they ran twin 20s. I'm kind of gonna read here from Marty's thing. I probably should have wrote it down, but I let Marty kind of do his own thing, so I'm pretty much just going to read from Marty's story. If you want to read the full thing, you can go over to My Race Pass or follow CRSA on Facebook. So most of what you're going to hear now is all from Marty Sakala, the announcer for the CRSA tour. So I do want to give him a little credit here. Um, Spencer Burley, he led the opening uh, lap. Dylan Paddock ran the high side. He started to lead lap number two. Paddock, Burley, Zach Sabatka stayed nose to tail through the opening part of the race. On lap number seven, Paddock had a moment in turns three and four up top that opened the door for Burley downstairs to grab the lead back off of turn four. In lap traffic, Sabatka tried to use back lap cars as a pick to grab the lead with 10 to go, but Burley pulled away. Sabaka got a second chance with three to go. Dylan Paddock spun and he collected Mikey Smith in the process. On the restart, Burley used the restart to his advantage. Every lap, Sabaka pulled even in the center of the corners. On the final lap, the Sabaka tried to slide job into three and four, but didn't have space, and Spencer Burley picked up the win in Twin 20 number one. Look at that. That's a pretty good recap for Marty. I had to take some pointers on this. And pretty pretty cool thing. Spencer Burley there, he's 18 years old and he got to start on motocross. He's pretty young into this, so into a sprint car. So
yeah,
um,
not only that, you talk about that. He's also setting like eighth in the points too this year. So excellent year for him. It's
right. So Spencer Burley, he picked up the win. Zach Zabaka was second. Billy Van and Widgen was third. Jeff Trombley was fourth, and Jordan Hutton was fifth. So there's your top five for that. Um, you know, I don't have much for the first Twin 20. It was a really good race. Other than that, I don't have much for it.
right. Yep. Oh, it was a little bit of banging going on in there. Again, there was a lot of money on the line for the drivers, and yeah, there was a lot of they were laying it all on the line trying to make the feature. I can tell you that. So,
Right, absolutely. So then we can get to the second of the Twin 20s. My
yep.
dog shaking his ears off. Uh, so Scott Landers and Nolan Groves, they started on the front row. Scott Landers led the opening laps with Kyle Drum moved into second as the front of the field was single file. The first yellow on lap seven for Ryan Greek having an issue that took away the lead. And then the Landers machine held restart while Dalton Herrick and Groves battle for third. At the halfway point, yellow came back out. Each restart drum kept getting a little bit closer and closer to Scott Landers. One final restart after a Tyler Graves yellow with three to go wasn't enough as Landers won by half a second over Kyle Drum and Dalton Herrick. So he picked up the win, and so Scott Landers picked up the win, and the Twin 20 number two. Kyle Drum finished second, Dalton Herrick third, Nolan Grace fourth, and Bailey Boyd was fifth.
Yep, absolutely. Kyle Drum, one of the local boys right here from Wayland, New York. So it's good to see him have a good run. He usually runs good at Woodhall anyway, but it was good to see him right up there in this.
Yeah.
So
The one thing I couldn't believe was this is his first CRSA appearance in over a decade.
was it really? I thought
Hmm.
he'd been running at Woodhall the last couple times.
Must
You know
must
what?
be must be from what we remember him as probably 360, I'd have to imagine is the
Right. Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Yeah. It's kind of different. I got a kick out of the one guy down there that showed up. His name was Vince Chicklets. I kind of chuckled about that all weekend. Vince Chicklets. I think he could be my new favorite driver.
Kenny Shupp was doing the same thing up in the announcer's tower.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I do want to mention that all the heat race winners did receive a $25 Dandy gift card. Dandy does a lot for CRSA, and I will say that I went there for work the other day on my lunch break, and they do have a fantastic chicken sandwich.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
Um, so I think that was pretty much it for Friday night. I want to
Yep.
thank MSP CarQuest of Elkland, New York, as I believe they were pretty much the only presenting sponsor on Friday night. But then we had Superior Plus Propane and Lowry Family Farms with us on Saturday.
Yep.
Then we had a band. I want to thank Jed Sugars and his band for playing for us, and I guess Terry and Nikki Brewer for getting all the wood and the getting the bonfire going. And thanks everybody for staying, as it was a lot of fun. I know I had a lot of fun. I don't think I got to bed till about 5:30 in the morning. So
Well, there's a couple things there. First of all, CarQuest. I was almost scared to put them on the Friday night show. If you know CarQuest in Oakland, so they're a sponsor that came on last year and have gotten between last year and this year, they have been rained out 9 different times. And it seems like every time they sponsored, we got rained out. And they were getting scared. They were almost not going to sponsor because they were afraid they were jinxing us. And I was almost starting to believe them. So, but we finally got them on Friday night. It was a beautiful night, and I'll tell you what, they had a blast. They had so much fun. They told me they can't wait to do it again next year. So that's really cool. I'm glad we finally got them in. And and you're right, the band and the bonfire was beautiful. Like a lot of
Mhm.
people stayed for it. We had a great time. Everything was good. I think you'll definitely see that come back again. I think it went over very well. So
Yeah, I had a great time. Some guys that we don't really get to see a lot of. I sat there at the bonfire and I talked a lot to some of these sprint car guys. Alicia Bay, Ron Greek, Dylan Paddock. Just some of these guys that we don't ever get to see. And
right, yep,
to sit there and talk to them and have a beer. It was a lot of fun, and it was good meeting these guys. And I hope they had fun. I think everybody had fun. From what I heard, was that it went over well. And I'll
oh
also
yeah,
say
I
that.
believe so. Yep, I
And
believe
fr
so.
Friday night, no one could complain about that racetrack Friday night. I think that racetrack is probably the best I've seen a racetrack in a long time.
Yep,
So I think it was, great for everybody and everybody had fun. I hope they had fun. I don't think there was any issues Friday night, so that always makes everything better. Sometimes when
right.
you have an after party going on, you never know how people will act. But I think
Yep,
everybody
no,
acted pretty how you'd want them to. So.
right, right. I can tell you the CRS guys. I've partied with them a little bit before, and they travel all the time, so they're like good friends. Most of them are all good friends with each other. So yeah, I mean, they'll loan parts out of their trailer to one another all night long. Whatever the other one needs, they're always there to help out. Just because they travel, they're a pretty tight knit group, really.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was a lot of fun hanging out with them out there at the fire. A lot of them, and a lot of our guys, a lot of our drivers stayed
Absolutely.
out there. I seen Kenny Peoples was out there, and Brian Butler. I mean, there was a lot of them. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad we did it.
So yeah, somehow we got it lined up for when Joe Trappler was celebrating his birthday too. So
Yeah, yeah,
you always know if you're gonna throw a party and Joe Trappler's celebrating a birthday, you never know what might happen there.
that's right. And he's going to be the sponsor on the 27th. You know that, so he's sponsoring the night of racing, and he's already called me and wanted to know if he could have another bonfire. So, stay tuned. I think there's probably going to be an announcement being made. I'm sure. So, yeah,
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. I
yep,
can tell
yep.
you I can tell you what I told Joe Trappler. I would go to the bonfire and I'd have fun, but I'm probably not staying up as late as I did this time.
That's right. Yep, absolutely.
But
Yep,
So yeah, that was Friday night. It was a ton of fun. It was awesome. I had a great time. I think everybody did. And then we can move on to Saturday night. Saturday night that was sponsored by Superior Plus Propane and Lowry Family Farms. Uh-oh. Oh, nope. Now I took it all away. Oh boy, this is just
there
better
you go. I'm
mess.
back. I can see you.
Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. There we
Oh, there
go.
you go.
I had to get the Lowry Family Farms logo for the audio only people. I had to get that all loaded up there for Saturday.
Yep.
Um, so Saturday night, we had the Great Sportsman, the sprint cars once again, and the hobby stocks and the sprint cars drove for 4,000 to win. And It got a little chippy. There's some times where it got a little chippy. These guys are racing for big money. I think Marty said that best the highest payout that they've had all year was 1250
Yep.
and 4 grand, and that's quite a gap. So
Yep. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the largest payout that CRSA has ever had. I
that's
believe.
yep, that's
So,
what Mike said too. So
yep.
so we can get into the heats just real quick here for the crate sportsman. No surprise here. The Tim Guild and Blake Lawson, they both won heats. It's nice to have the Lawson crew with us. It seems like it'd been, at least from my memory, been a while since they'd been back with us.
Yep.
Then we had the CRSA sprints. They were won by Steve Glover, Billy Van Wijen, and Jeff Trombley and Jerry Sen. And you know what I find kind of interesting here, Terry? Now that I'm looking at this, um, well, I guess Jeff Trombley did, but I was gonna say you had 8 heats, all 8 different winners, but you had 8 heats and 7 different winners. That's still pretty good.
Yeah. Right. Right.
You want to talk about the talent there in the sprint cars? That's pretty.
Yeah.
Then we had the hobby stocks back, and Brian Austin and Brandon Conklin. They picked up the heat race wins there too. So, you know, those two, if you've been watching, they're pretty much stout. They finished 1-2 the night before. You know,
I tell you, no joke, Brian Austin has really turned his season around. He started off the season with a car that was upside down on the backstretch, and the roll cage in it was junk. And they took it back to the shop. They hammered on it all week. And I'll tell you what, these last couple races, man, he has been on fire with that car. And
yeah, I
he's
always
proved
said, Brian
it.
Austin, his car was so fast at the beginning of the year, and then like you
Yep,
said, he rolled it, and then since then he's been trying to work at it, and get back, and then he's finally got it figured out again.
yep.
So then what we do for intermission? We had
Sprint,
sprint car
sprint.
redraw.
Yep,
Oh, we had dashes and stuff, didn't we?
yep. There was a couple dashes in there. Yep,
Yep. Okay, I'm looking at them right now. They were won by, so these were to set the inside and outside rows. So however they finished 1 through 6, and the first one started from 1, 3, 5, and 7 and onward. And they were picked up by Billy Van Wijen and Mikey Smith. So that was going to be your front row for the feature, 30 lap
yep.
feature.
And there was a familiar name in that first heat there, that Spencer Burley back up there again, finished second into it. So, he's a guy that we're going to want to really keep an eye on next year. He's getting experience this year, and be interesting to see what he does.
Right. Um, so the sportsman. Well, I guess I went out of order, but you know what? Whatever. So
Yep, that's all right.
the oh man, hometown excavation crate sportsman. I couldn't remember who sponsored them. Sorry, Brett.
No,
Sorry, Brett.
yeah,
Um,
no, that's all right.
so Kenny Peoples Jr. He started on the pole, so you knew that that would be tough for anybody to get by him. He started around with Chris Clements. Caution came out on lap 2, but after that it went green to checkered. And I'll tell you one thing, Kenny Peoples, um, Blake Lawson was coming for him. Uh,
Yep, he
I,
was.
I saw on a Facebook post that Blake Lawson hit some water down at the bottom of the racetrack, and that kind of took him, slowed him down enough to where he couldn't challenge Kenny after that. But Blake Lawson looked really, really good.
Yes, he did. He did. I thought it was really cool to see Chris Clemens there. We haven't seen him in a while, and he had a good run too. I mean, he started up there in second and fell back, but still, he maintained a sixth place finish. But it was good to see him come back and have fun at the high banks.
Absolutely. There's a couple people like that. Kenny
Yep,
Peoples Jr. picked up the win. Blake Lawson was second. Tim Guild was third. Braylon Lawson fourth, and then Ray Bliss was fifth. Ray Bliss, another one of those guys that, I think he's made three. I think this was his third start at Woodhall. I think he came
yeah,
earlier in a sportsman, earlier in a modified, and now he's back in a sportsman. So,
yep, yep, yep. There was a bunch of new faces, that's for sure. George Schweigart was back. That was cool to
yeah,
see him come back. And he had a good solid run. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
making the long toe.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, right. Absolutely. And Eric Brigham there, he's been there a couple times throughout the year. He's always fun to watch. I know he broke right there at the end, but or halfway through it, but he's always fun to watch. He's a good driver. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, that was the sportsman. Like I said, Kenny Peoples, you give him the pole position. I don't know what it is about these guys that They always seem to draw really, really well.
right? Yep,
Now the points are over and we're all draw redraw. There's no Kenny, if Kenny wins, he's not going to be starting 12th.
right, yep,
Um but I will say the one that I was very impressed was with Blake Lawson, and I think I'd have to imagine they'll be there at the end of the year for the 2,500 to win race, because the amount of speed that he showed was
right.
was good, good for them. That's got to be quite a um confidence booster. That's what I'm looking for.
Yep, yep, definitely,
Going into
definitely.
going into the last 2 weeks here of the season.
Right. Yep,
So then I think what did we do? We ran the dashes.
yep.
Like I said, that was Billy Van and Widgen and Mike and Smith. And then we ran the Lad Road Auto Hobby Stocks. And this one, let me see here. So there's a caution on lap number 3. Brett Flint takes the lead on lap 4. What's that say? Yeah, I don't know what that says. Brian Austin takes the lead on lap 5, I think is what it says. And then 3 cautions throughout the race, but like we said before, Brian Austin, he picked up the win. Brandon Conklin was second. Scotty Brown was third. Brett, is it Brett or Brent?
It's actually Brett.
Okay. Brett Flint finished fourth, and then fifth was Reese Hackett. Because Joe Birdsell, he yelled at me on the redraw, but on my race pass it says Brent, so you can't yell at
Yeah,
me.
right. Yeah, I don't know why. I'm not sure why that is, but I got to say, awesome run for Scotty Brown. A well-deserved run. He's been trying so hard, and it was good to see him get that car turned around and be running good for this. At the end of the season. And again, Brett Flint. There's a guy that's got so many laps around Woodall Raceway that's unbelievable. And I talked to his wife a little bit. She said he's having the time of his life. So who knows? Maybe we'll see him in a car full time next year. Who knows?
Right. You never know, I guess. Um, so that was, yeah, so that was them. I think pretty much everybody that ran last week came back, or the night before came back besides Joe. Birdsell,
Hmm.
really.
Right, right. Yep.
No, Dylan Phillip, he didn't come back either, but
No, right. That's right. He didn't. I know, like Bertzel, they had a lot of work. They worked on them cars all day on Saturday to get them ready for the night because they had some broken stuff from Friday night. And by the time they got all done, Joe said, "I just can't do it." So he let his brother drive his car, and yeah, set
finished
this one
sixth
up,
with
I
it.
guess. Yeah,
You know what I was wondering? I didn't talk to him, but there was that 28 car didn't start all night.
yep.
And so a little behind the scenes here on, well, I wondered if the motor was hurting that 28.
No, I don't think it was.
Okay.
Um, I believe it was a steering box. I believe I could be wrong. They worked on it all day. They thought they had it, and then there was problems with it right before showtime, and I think they
Oh,
just
I
kind of
thought the 3X had
well, maybe I could be
they
wrong.
had
I know they worked on both them cars all
yeah.
day. One of them was a steering box, and what was wrong with the other one? What was the initial problem with the 28? I can't remember now. Um, Geez, I guess I'm not sure now off the top of my head, but they worked on something on that car all morning. But
Hmm. Well, either way. Yeah, so then we got to the B main. I don't know much about the B main for the CRSA, but I can tell you that Josh Landers won. So that moved him into the big show. And then we didn't give them a lot of time. They didn't have a lot of time to move from the B main to the A main once that was over. So then we got into the A main, and once again I'll read here from Marty Sakala here. Um, oh boy. Well, I gotta get to the B. So Billy Van Inwigen and Mikey Smith, they brought the field to the green flag for the 30 lap feature. Mikey Smith grabbed the race lead early. And this was another one. A lot of yellows in this race. But
yeah,
like you said, they're racing for 4 grand, the best paying race of CRSA history. And you could tell these guys were trying to move to the front quickly.
yep,
Um, so the drivers would battle for the bottom step of the podium is Spencer Burley, Jeff Tremblay battled for third, with Dylan Paddock, Zach Zabaka right behind him. With every restart, Mikey Smith was able to hold off Bobby Van Wingen. Just before halfway, Jeff Tremblay would try to grab the runner-up spot, pulling even with Van Wingen. But then Billy V hit a slider, and he was able to hold on to second. With 11 laps to go, Matt Rott spun in turn two in front of Scott Landers to bring out the race sixth yellow flag. Due to the time in the feature, officials called an open red to bring teams onto the track to add fuel, giving drivers giving drivers time to think about what to do in the final third of the feature. Now, this is something that I do want to touch on. So, for those of you that don't know, these sprint car guys have it mathematically right to the bottom.
Yep.
They don't fill a gas tank up so that they know for a fact they're going to run. They fill it up to make them the lightest they possibly can. So when they say 30 laps around Woodhall, if they're heavy yellow like they were, they needed to fuel up or else they all would have ran out of gas.
Yep. Isn't
So,
that's crazy? Yep. Absolutely.
so then after the restart, Billy Van Wingen took advantage as he was forced to take the top side, but he grabbed the lead on the outside on the restart and then to score the victory. I guess after that it was just pretty much quotes in that story. But so Billy Van Wingen, he picks up the $4,000 payday. Mikey Smith finished second. Dylan Paddock was third. Fourth was Brian Carber, and fifth was Zach Sabaka. Um, this race was a lot of fun. It did have some yellows, but in my personal opinion, they made them so sometimes I get a lot of complaints for sprint cars that they get stretched out. Well, when you have yellows kind of scattered throughout the race, they're not getting stretched out. Now, I
Right.
don't agree with those opinions, but I do know people that have that opinion. So
Yep.
it was a good race. I felt bad for Mikey Smith there at the end because he held him off every restart, and then of course the last one for him, it
Yep.
Billy Van Wingen got by him, but that's the name of the game. And what you saw him in on the front stretch, he was all smiles. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. He had a great time. I talked to him a little bit. All of them right there at the end at the finish line, and in the winner's circle, and they all said they loved Woodhall. They loved the track conditions both nights. They were happy, and they can't wait to do it again. They had a ball. And I did want to throw one out there was the ninth place finish on the feature was Nathan Pierce, my good buddy. And I'll tell you, Friday night he blew the motor in that car. They loaded it
really,
back in the trailer. Yep, they loaded it back in the trailer and took off and headed to Troy with it on Friday night. Went home, got the motor repaired. I didn't get a chance to talk with him on Saturday night. I was so busy. I wanted to stop over and chat with him. I didn't make it over there, but I don't know whether they changed the motor or fixed the motor that they had, but they showed back up and came out, made the feature, and then finished ninth. So that's off to them.
yeah, it's pretty. And you know what? Another thing about Nathan Pierce is he was at the mall show. So if
Yep.
anybody was at the mall show, that's one of the cars that you get to see real up close and personal there.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. He's sponsored by Siemens. He actually works at Siemens right out of Painted Post, New York. And yeah, he's a great guy. I always look forward to seeing him show up when he shows up at Woodall. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I'll say is I saw people complaining on Facebook that it was dusty. I'll tell you one thing that I stood on top of the roof to watch the feature and I could see the entire thing. Um, it was a little dustier than it was Friday, but it is not was not any dustier than a lot of racetracks. So, you know,
right.
um, I don't know. You said that you could see me from the infield, so that would lead me to believe that it wasn't, you
Yeah,
know,
no, I mean there was some dust there. There's no doubt. A 2 day show is tough, no matter
it
what you do.
is
Um,
absolutely.
and there was some dust. There was, but you know what? I stood on the infield, and you guys were standing on the roof of the place, and I could see you guys up there. And I asked the drivers. I said, "How bad was it?" And most of the sprint car drivers were like, "It really wasn't that bad." So,
Mhm.
they didn't complain. They liked the track conditions, and yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Well,
I'll tell you what I liked about this is I like the fact that we had a 2 day show with the sprint cars and they didn't get the exact same track conditions both nights. So it kind of broke it up, made the guys work for it a little bit, right? I mean, I kind of like that idea. So
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
it wasn't bad. Like I said, I could see everything from the roof. I'd have to imagine that that's probably the hardest to see if it would be dusty. That was my first time ever up there, so I guess I don't know for sure, but
yep.
I figured with Marty in the house and two races in a row, the B main to the A main, I figured I'd go watch it up there. So Terry
Right.
Brewer graciously took me up there and I watched it from up there, and it's cool.
Yeah, it is.
It's a cool
Absolutely,
place
it
to watch a race. Well, then that did it for the CRSA sprint cars, and I could tell you right now that then I think the stars of the night came out, Terry.
is.
The
That
the
they
uh
did.
the powder puff. Um, for anybody that left, you I'll just say you made a bad decision. These women, so these are the I call them the wags. The wives and girlfriends of the drivers. I know there was a few daughters in there, but um you know, it was a lot of fun to watch. They don't have any I don't know if they have experience, it's in practice. You know, a couple of
Right.
laps at the end of the night. They have they have no experience behind the wheel of a car. And I'll say this, they had less yellows than the men did.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun, and in case anybody was wondering, it came down to 0.047 seconds. That was the finish.
Yep. Oh yeah. And not only that, I think the top five were all on the front straightaway. That like it was not, nobody drove away in this race. It was a good race from start to finish.
Absolutely. So ultimately, Becca Coombs picked up the win, and I'll say her and Ellen Kerr, I think, drove side by side for what, 10 laps, 10 of the 15 laps.
Oh
That
yeah.
race was unbelievable.
Both of them put on a heck of a show. Hats off to both of them. Either one of them could have won that race where they were going. I think there was with one to go. Ellen, I think when they took the white flag, I think she was leading, and yeah, it was. There was some lap car in there that I think gave him a little bit of trouble to get around, but other than that, it was a great race between them two. And
It,
and I'll
it,
tell you this too, Joe. Here's my theory onto it: the people who did not stay, the fans that did not stay and watch this race, are the same Bills fans that left. That left the stadium early last week. I'm telling you, because my lord, these girls put on a heck of a show all the way around.
they did. It was a lot of fun to watch too. And I got a funny story. I don't know if I told you this or not, Terry. So before the races, you know, I was up there. I stayed in your shop. Thank you for allowing that. And
Absolutely.
And I was up there, you know, I was talking to Joe Birdsell and Reese Hackett and them. They were cooking breakfast, and I was talking to them while they were eating the breakfast. And Reese Hackett said, you know, I I've raced my whole life. I've never won anything. I don't have any trophies. I don't have any checks. You know, I just haven't been lucky enough to win anything. Well, Becca Coombs, the winner of the Powder Puff, was Reese Hackett's wife,
Yep.
driving Reese Hackett's car. So sure enough, he says that, and then his wife goes out there and wins the first time she's in a car. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. And let me tell you something. Everybody picked on him the rest of the night, and I'll tell you, he took a lot of ribbon all night long, but you couldn't wipe that smile off his face. So he was happy to see it.
that's right. And Bianca Conklin, that would be the daughter of Brandon. She
Yep.
finished third. Ellen Kerr, the wife of Mike Kerr,
Yep.
father, mother of Marcus Kerr, rookie of the year in the Warriors last year, ran a hobby stock for a lot of the this year. Rose Moore, she finished fourth, I believe. Believe that's the girlfriend of Scooter Brown, Scotty Brown,
Oh yes,
or
yes, I
maybe
believe it
his
was.
wife. I don't know, you know,
Yep.
exactly the significant other, I should say.
Yep.
And then Carissa Flint, you would know who that is more than I would, I
So
think.
that would be Brett Flint's daughter, and
Okay.
it's also the girlfriend of Travis Webster.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
okay. I actually was sending some people messages trying to figure out who it was for my story because
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yep.
of course of course I threw my sheet away that had all the names on it, and we had the
Oh,
transponders, but the transponders just had the men's names on it, the
yep,
cars they drove. So I'm looking at it going, then I remembered the four, but I couldn't remember that one. So
yep, yep.
luckily I'll give a shout out to Brandon Conklin because he answered me first.
There you go. Yep.
But so that was it. That
She
was
actually she actually drove in the powder puff last year. So
did she?
she drove. Yep, she drove a 39 car last year, and they were gracious enough to let her back in it again this year, give her a second try. And yeah, yep,
Um, so yeah, that was the weekend. And I'll tell you, this weekend, I hope we do it again. It was a ton of fun. The 2 day show, the bonfire, the band on Friday night was awesome. The powder puff was absolutely amazing. I couldn't believe the race the women put on.
yep,
The sprint cars were cool. I once again, I really hope we do it again, and I hope everybody that left early would stick around for the powder puff. Um, I would have to imagine that if happens again next year, that the car count would only rise.
yes, I
Um,
believe. Yep.
because I'd have
And
to imagine that everybody would say that.
yep.
I'd have to imagine that people that weren't there, they'll go and tell their people, "Hey, you should have been there. It was a great time." But
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
and I say again, hats off to Joe Birdsell. Joe Birdsell went around and rounded up a bunch of these guys, their
yeah,
cars, so the girls could do it. And not only that, I think at least 2 weeks in a row after the races were over, Joe Birdsell went down and stood on the track with the girls and talked them through what they had to do, let them run some laps, and he watched them and he helped every one of them. I mean, Joe Birdsell had a lot of time involved in helping these girls out, every single one of them. So it was great to see that. Joe's a great guy when it comes to the hobby stock class. He's done a lot to promote it. And it was great. It really was. And actually, his own mother, drove his car in the powder puff, so that was cool too. So
yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. But once again, unless you got anything else on the weekend, Terry?
I don't. I think that's about it.
Um, well, all right. So that was sponsored by Superior Plus Propane, Lowry Family Farms, MSP CarQuest of Elkland, Pennsylvania. Dandy, they sponsored the CRSA stuff. I that's all I got, I guess, on that. Oh, I do
Yep.
want to mention that Brandon Conklin on Friday night they did have a Hot Lap Hero for the hobby stocks, and that was won by Brandon Conklin. But stupid me can't remember who sponsored that or what it was. So
Right.
it's
Yep.
about how that's about how I operate. Let's see if I got it written down here in my notes.
Yeah, I'm not really sure who it was.
Tracy Dunn Fabrication. I did have it
Oh, there you go.
written.
Tracy Dunn. There's a name we don't hear enough of, let me tell you.
I tell you,
Uh,
I saw him at the bonfire, and I was trying to tell him to get a car for next year. And
yeah, I always tell him that too. I wish he would. The guy, he was a great driver. He's a great competitor. He's always fun. But he switched over to building cars, and he's going to be a fabricator, and he's building these things. So he does an awesome job at it. He's done some work out of my shop for me. Not even race related. And yeah, every time I see him, I'm like, you got to get a car and come back. So maybe someday.
right, absolutely, yeah, he's one of my favorites. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, great weekend, absolutely awesome weekend. But I do want to touch on a couple of things here before we get out of here. Just this weekend, Woodhull 100, um, big deal. 2,000 to win. I believe it's 1,500 for second, 1,250 for third, 1,000 for fourth, and 900 for fifth, and then 250 to start for the
Yep.
street stocks. Um, that all goes to Joe Wilcox. He did a great job securing a bunch of sponsors. John Stewart, he sold all the laps, so all 100 laps are sold. Contingencies are sold too, so I think everything's pretty much set for that. So I do want to give a shout out to them for, putting in the hard work to get that done.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And honestly, Joe, there's still money coming in. It hasn't stopped. I did a sign today for them. So they're still selling. They still got some gold sponsors that are still, signing up. So yeah, you're gonna always see that money get a little bit better. But wow, man, that is a tremendous payout right there. So I think that you're gonna see a ton of cars come to Woodall next week. And you don't want to miss this show, that's for sure.
I hope so. And if you are a street stock guy that listens to this, we are doing a pre-tech before the race. That's going to be down at the concrete pad. Todd told me, our tech guy, he told me that we're going to have signs put up so everybody knows where to go. Um, Safety equipment is included in that inspection, so make sure that you bring that down with you. And
Yep.
like I said, it should be great. There'll be crate late models as well. Hobby stocks and four cylinders are back in action too. So.
Yep.
That should be a great night. That's sponsored by Joe Wilcox Performance Automatics. I should have known that one off the top of my head.
That's right. Yep. Yeah.
And I talked to one Kyle Leach, and if you stick around at the end of the races, you might see a certain announcer driving around a hot rod.
There you go.
Just saying.
I, yep, there you go. I can't believe I'm going to miss this. I can't believe it. I
Oh,
hope
you are too.
somebody videos it.
We're
Yep.
gonna have to we'll put somebody on the flag stand a video. Dan Beach has got nothing better to do, you know.
That's right. Yeah, we'll put Dan up there. Yes. Unfortunately, yeah, I am going to be out of town this weekend, so I'm going to miss it. But I will be back for the 27th race. So yeah, but trust me, I'm going to be in Kansas, but I will be on my watching my race pass all night long. So, and I'll probably be messaging you too. So be prepared.
Yeah, I talked to Mike Spencer. Hopefully, Mike Spencer still will allow me to use his race suit. I have my own helmet. That's Snell certified, so I know that that I got my own helmet. But
There you go.
hopefully Mike will let me use his
Yep, there you go.
gloves and all that stuff. So that should be a lot of fun. We'll see. Hopefully, I don't wad it up too bad. I don't want to give Kyle a lot of work to do, but I did see that he got a new car, so hopefully,
I
hopefully
do.
that goes
I
well for him.
right? I did talk to Terry Nicky about this too, and I think they are planning on limited your laps. They're only going to let you have like one lap. And I guess the reason is they don't want to look for a new announcer at this time. They don't want you to get that bug and have to go buy a race car, and then we lose our announcer. So,
Well, do you remember what I told you, Terry? You were all
uh,
excited. You were all excited about this, and you said, "I'm going to put this on Facebook Live and all this stuff, and
yep.
I'm gonna get a video. We're going to put it on Facebook, all this stuff." And I said, "Boy, that's going to be a lot of fun when I'm rolling around the bottom of the racetrack and I can't get it into high gear."
Yep, absolutely. Well, I think I did get some pictures of you last weekend in the hobby stock. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We kept the motor off on that one though.
yeah, we did.
So that's this upcoming weekend, and then the 27th, that is our final race of the year. That's 2,500 to win for the Crate Sportsman IMCA Point Championship, 600cc modifieds back, and 600 to win for the Quad Cs.
That's
So,
sponsored by JT Logging, right?
oh yeah, Joe Trappler and
Yep. And
CS
there's
Tree
also another
Service,
sponsor.
CS Tree
Who's the
Service and Landscaping.
oh
CS
yeah, but there's somebody else too. There's who did we lose last week? We got rained out. We lost Cart or not CarQuest. We lost
McCourts.
Griffith Energy McCourts. So McCourts will be on the 27th also.
All right. Well, I just go off the schedule, so obviously that
Yes.
doesn't have updated rainouts and all that stuff. So,
Right. Right. Yep.
um,
Yep.
so yeah, and that's hard to believe that the season is just about over. We got 2 weeks left. Um, it's just really hard to believe.
It is. It is. Attrition is taking effect. We've lost some cars here at the end of the season that just couldn't keep going. Um, Jason Warner, I say, he's not coming back this weekend. His cars got demolished last weekend, and I feel terrible for the guy. He's put his heart and soul into it. He's been running good. He's getting better and better every week, but he said he's going to rebuild and he'll be ready for next year. So,
You
and
know,
that's happened to quite a few of these guys, really.
you know what I'll say? Tell him to bring his four cylinder.
Right? Yeah. No. Absolutely. Yeah.
Come have
Definitely
fun. No
should.
reason not to have fun. I know that it sucks to have one wadded up, but bring your four cylinder and come have fun.
Yeah. Right. So if you're listening, Jason, we're going to be counting on that. So,
And I do want to
yeah.
just throw out one more thing before we do get off of here too. We're working on a date for the driver banquet.
Yes.
We can't get into much into that until afterwards. But for you sponsors that listen, I think we're going to send out an email here that
Yes.
October 18th, that's going to be our sponsor banquet. Is that correct?
Yes. That's correct. Yep.
So,
And we're
so for
gonna.
those of you in attendance that were there last year, we're going to do kind of the same thing. I think it's going to be at the Addison Eagles Club, but I could be wrong on that.
Yes, it is. Yep, it's at the Addison Eagles Club in Addison, New York. Yeah, we're gonna be sending out emails this week to all the sponsors. We did this last year. It was a brand new thing. We put on a dinner to kind of thank all of our sponsors, and it went over great. It really did. So we're gonna do it again this year, and we made some improvements to it. We think so. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I can't wait. That should be an exciting. That should be an exciting evening for our sponsors and for some of us. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if you were with us, it's nice to get them together and um I know it's not enough for what they do for the track, but just a little bit of a thank you to um, tell them how much we appreciate them.
Yes, for sure. Without them, the page, the drivers would be a lot less, and it would be a struggle to get through the season. So, we thank these guys for everything they do. They step up, and the money that they give us to put on good races and make it exciting for the fans. So it's yeah, absolutely. Without them, we would have nothing. So it's I'm glad to thank them at the end of the season like this. And like I said, last year it went over very well. Sponsors seem to like it, so we're going to try it again.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. So Terry, unless you got anything else, I think we're about ready to hop on out of here.
I'm good. I'm ready to end this thing. So
Alrighty. So once again, I do want to thank Superior Plus Propane, Lowry Family Farms, MSP CarQuest, Mike Emhoff, the CRSA Sprint Cars, Terry and Nikki Brewer. The bonfire was sweet and a lot of fun. Um, and I want to thank everybody for listening. Want to remind everybody, please like and subscribe on the YouTube page, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Follow us on Woodhall Raceway on Facebook and Woodhall Raceway 64 on TikTok. Well, Terry, I guess you have a good week, and I'll talk to you a little later.
absolutely sounds good. I will probably see you again on the 27th. So
Well, I hope so.
absolutely. You have a great evening.
Yep, you too.